Welcome to the Secret History Channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. Babies who lost their parents during the Vietnam War are transported to the United States in 1975 for adoption. In 1907, a British sailor is seen freeing a man who had been kept chained as a slave for 3 years. A U.S. Air Force lieutenant helps a young North Vietnamese soldier in 1967 amid the Vietnam War. John D. Rockefeller is shown turning his back on a beggar begging for money in the 1880s. Uvai Saktayev, in the 1950s, was an impressive man standing at 7 feet 9 inches tall, weighing 419 pounds, and wearing a size 58 shoe. A Japanese woman carries her children in a bucket balanced on her head in the early 1900s. A boy and a girl, both with artificial legs, pose for the camera in 1890. The image shows a mother driving a car with her baby, lying in an improvised holder on the front seat, without a seatbelt or protection. Nikola Tesla sits in his laboratory in Colorado Springs, 1899, surrounded by huge electrical discharges. Police officers test the effectiveness of gas masks inside a mobile chamber in London, 1939. A Chinese junk boat sails along the Yangtze River in 1911, representing one of China's most traditional forms of transportation. King George V took part in a hunting expedition in the Terai, Nepal in 1911 during his visit to India as part of the celebrations for his coronation. King George V participated in a hunting expedition in the Terai, Nepal in 1911 during his visit to India for the Delhi Durbar, an event that celebrated his coronation as Emperor of India. The Boeing WWII-B9 in a test flight in 1932 with its retractable landing gear extended. A construction worker is suspended by an industrial crane while working on the construction of the Empire State Building in New York on October 29, 1930. Queen Victoria, known as the Grandmother of Europe, in 1894. During her long reign from 1837 to 1901, she exerted great political and family influence, with her descendants marrying into various European royal houses. Michelangelo's famous statue of David was completely surrounded by bricks during World War II to protect it from possible damage. Workers and soldiers raised the first structures of the Berlin Wall, turning the city into a symbol of the divide between East and West. Thousands of Londoners sought shelter in subway stations to protect themselves from German air raids in 1943. New York around 1910. The image shows the view from 11th Street toward Trinity Church, one of the most iconic buildings in Lower Manhattan. Claudia Cardinale is photographed while reading a book, capturing a moment of tranquility behind the scenes of her film career. Buster Keaton tests one of the earliest personal transport prototypes in a scene from the 1923 film Our Hospitality. Muhammad Ali, then known as Cassius Clay, stands on the podium after winning the gold medal in the light heavyweight category during the Summer Olympics in Rome, 1960. Marilyn Monroe poses in a dress made from a potato sack, showcasing her unmatched charisma and elegance. Belka and Strelka, the Soviet space dogs, after their successful return to Earth in 1960. Workers reinstall the famous clock at the information counter of Grand Central Station in New York in 1954. The frozen Niagara Falls in the winter of 1926 create an impressive landscape, with massive ice formations covering the waterfalls. A group of pioneers poses next to an advertisement in Montana, United States, in the year 1901. A shipwreck rests near the coast of Cornwall, a region known for its treacherous waters and fierce storms. A lifeboat is hastily launched from the St. Mark and St. Agnes vessels to rescue crew members after the sinking of the Arden Craig. Visitors explore the bow deck of HMS New Zealand during its stop in Vancouver in 1913. Elsie Connor, an Irish boxer and boxing champion, poses for a photo in New York in 1931. A plane with its engine running is transported on a truck during a preparation parade in New York in 1916. The event was part of a campaign to showcase American technological advancements before entering World War I. Central Park in 1942 showcases its natural beauty amid the hustle and bustle of New York during World War II. A themed cafe in Los Angeles in 1934 with a large cup on top advertising hot coffee. The vehicle from the 1957 Transantarctic expedition is seen crossing a crevasse in the ice, one of the many challenges faced by explorers in crossing the frozen continent. Thomas Edison poses next to his phonograph in 1921, one of the most revolutionary inventions of the late 19th century. Italians line up to see the Nemi ships, luxurious vessels built under the orders of Emperor Caligula. A book fair takes place in Kiev, Ukraine during the 1950s, when the country was still part of the Soviet Union. The Boeing 307 Stratoliner, the first commercial airplane with a pressurized cabin, entered service with Pan Am in 1940 and is seen here flying over snow-covered Mount Rainier. Workers unwrapped the head of the Statue of Liberty in 1885 after its arrival in New York from France. The Ford Model T seen in the image was one of the first mass-produced cars and was sold for only $260 in 1924. A family faces the hardships of the Great Depression in 1936, a period of economic crisis that affected millions of people. The day Prohibition ended in the United States on December 5, 1933, was marked by celebrations across the country. A radio station operates at the top of the Eiffel Tower in 1914, marking the advancement of communications at the time. Several Chevrolet models are delivered to the Breese Chevrolet dealership in Syracuse, New York in 1927. In 1916, the Richardson Brothers tandem biplane seaplane is displayed over the Potomac River. The aircraft, designed to land on water, was an innovation of its time and demonstrated the progress of naval aviation. Passengers wait to board a plane in 1929, a time when commercial aviation was still in its early years. Students in schools like this were taught to duck and cover in 1962 as part of drills preparing for a possible attack during the Cold War period. When Central Park was officially opened in 1876, it became an immediate success among New Yorkers. Pedestrians watch through a restaurant window as a cook prepares a large pot of spaghetti in New York, 1937. An illustration of a monorail crossing the English Channel, taken from H.G. Wells's science fiction novel, The War in the Air, published in 1908. A woman rides the Snow King cable car in 1955, enjoying the view of the snow-covered mountains. Before widescreen TVs and plasma televisions, children's entertainment was live, such as in the traditional Punch and Judy shows. The iconic McSorley's Old Ale House, one of New York's oldest bars, photographed by Ida Wyman in 1945. The sign at the entrance welcomes soldiers returning from World War II. The Great Flood of Paris in 1910 was a devastating event where the Seine River overflowed, flooding streets, homes, and historic landmarks of the city. In Hermiston, Oregon, workers at the Umatilla Munitions Depot set a world record by pouring concrete for 24 igloos in just 24 hours. A house being transported by truck in the San Francisco area around 1919. The first photograph of Queen Victoria with her eldest daughter, Victoria, Princess Royal, was taken by Henry Collin in 1844. Halloween in the 1930s was a simple celebration, but it already carried many of the traditions we know today. The birth of digital communication revolutionized the way the world connects. A train crosses a densely packed residential area in Kensal Rise, London, in March of 1921. A 134-year-old church reveals its true color after a careful cleaning. For decades, many believed the stone was black, but removing the dirt that had accumulated over time exposed its original shade. A 700-year-old house in Iraq, built directly into the rocks, has retained its original structure despite the passage of time. Max Schreck relaxes backstage in Nosferatu in 1922, contrasting with his terrifying portrayal of Count Orlok, one of the first vampires in cinema. In 1957, the view of the U.S. Capitol dome under construction showed the structure undergoing major renovations. Lewis, one of the last great icons of the birth of rock and roll, blended blues, gospel, and honky-tonk with a unique energy on stage. Nurses present a set of newborn triplets to their emotional father in New York, 1946. A motorcycle officer from the Los Angeles Police Department in 1930 poses with his motorcycle. A photograph from the 1880s captures 4 generations of the same family, gathered in a single frame. A boy reads in his room near Williston, North Dakota, in October 1937. The scene shows the simplicity of the environment, with makeshift bedding, reflecting the economic hardships of the time. Classic and modern outfits mix at the Sanja Festival, held in Asakusa, Tokyo, Japan. August Engelhardt, on the right, alongside 2 followers in Kahakua, New Guinea, around 1905. Engelhardt was a German idealist who founded a community based on sun worship and a diet consisting solely of coconuts. President John F. Kennedy's motorcade passes through Houston, Texas on November 21, 1963, one day before his visit to Dallas. Some of the first Volkswagen Beetles were produced in West Germany in 1945. Initially developed before World War II, the model gained prominence in the post-war era as an affordable and reliable car. The chief engineer of the Golden Gate Bridge insisted on the installation of a safety net under the structure during construction, an innovative measure for its time. Yuri Gagarin, the first man to travel into space, poses with his wife Valentina and daughter Elena in Moscow, RSFSR, Soviet Union, 1964. A 1936 BMW Schneekrad, parked on the street, catches attention with its unusual design. This experimental vehicle was designed to tackle snow-covered terrain. Indigenous fishermen catch salmon at Celilo Falls, Oregon, in September 1941. The Young at Heart group poses on Halleck Street, taking part in the Santa Fe Train Club around 1940. Young newspaper sellers known as newsies pose with their dog in Boston in the early hours of a Sunday morning. Scribes work on Las Ramblas in Barcelona, assisting illiterate people in writing letters and documents. A young messenger walks the streets of Birmingham, Alabama in 1914, carrying letters or small packages. Young Glenn Dungy, 11 years old, waits near the railroad tracks in Oklahoma City, April 1917. Spinning outdoors in Fort Kent, Maine during the month of August. A flying saucer is photographed at a junkyard in New Mexico, United States, in 1962. Behind the scenes at Mark Foy's fashion show in Sydney around 1947, models and seamstresses make final adjustments before stepping onto the runway. A young farmer in Kearney, Buffalo County, Nebraska, deals with a flat tire while transporting a load of scrap to town in May 1942. In February 1942, a group of younger boys gathers in front of the pool halls in Roscoe, South Dakota. Construction workers take a lunch break sitting on the edge of a building under construction in London, 1929. The image shows a public urinal in Paris in 1875, part of the famous Vespasienne, introduced to the city in the 19th century. Such scenes were common in circuses and entertainment shows in the early and mid-20th century, where elephants were trained to perform impressive tricks. A young couple poses for the camera in the mid-1850s, captured in a rare photograph from the era,